Ryan Stanton here with ASEP Frontline, and joined today by Dr. Marvin Wayne. You go by Marv, right?
Yes, Marv.
Marv.
No doctor.
He corrects me every time,
okay.
but I'm starting the podcast respecting the degree in what you brought. If you listen to, we actually featured Marv before in October of 2023, so check out that podcast, that episode. Great podcast talking about the pigtail catheter that has your name emblazoned on it, which apparently now has been on several TV shows and is making its round. But
yeah, unfortunately, I don't get royalties anymore, but that's all right. It was on the pit. They had it there, and you know, somebody did okay because of that. That's the patient, which is really all we care about.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and loved it. So we're here at Scientific Assembly in Salt Lake City, so you'll hear a little bit of natural sound. So Dr. Wayne came out of the University of Michigan, did surgical residency, not some, at the University of Colorado, and then fellowship at Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle. Give us a little background. I'll let you take our direction, because last time we talked about cookies and catheters, and in fact, I think that was the name of the podcast.
Cookies and catheters.
Yes.
That actually sounds like the perfect podcast, you know. Essence of your stomach. And I don't know about your catheter. That one I'd like to skip. Had one of those once. So I think, again, would like to skip. No, so I actually, let's order a little bit. So I'm an inner city kid from Detroit. Mm-hmm. My dad was a factory worker who unfortunately died of a cardiac arrest. I was 19. He was 47. Kind of put a turmoil in the life. We managed to get through that. I had a sister that was 9.5 years younger than I am. And in spite of it, I was able to stay in Ann Arbor. So one of the things, all right, so I'm a college dropout. Everybody needs to know. I never got my undergraduate degree. Is that a shock?
I would say so, but my dad almost did the same thing. Mm-hmm. I think his was high school.
They kicked me out of high school. I mean, that was just, pushed me. Go
on, move on. Yeah. Try somewhere else.
No, actually, I'll backtrack on that for 1 sec. So anyway, my dad had died. I wanted to go to medical school. So when I was in my junior year of college, I just started applying to medical school. This is a long time ago. And I got 16 applications in and 16 rejections, including University of Kentucky.
There you go.
Yeah. And in some strange way, I was at the University of Michigan. They, instead of just giving me what everybody else did, which was an outright bye, call us another time, they said, we're going to put you on the alternate list. Mm-hmm. And I said, what's that mean? And they said, well, if we have an opening, and if it's at the right time, and if you're available, if I'm available, right, and I'm already in Ann Arbor, we'll offer you the spot. So that was the beginning of either terror or pleasure for them. I'm not sure how you would direct it. Every Monday morning, around 8:30 a.m. when their office opened of admissions, I brought a box of candy. Poor lady was probably getting fat on me. And a letter for the dean of admissions. And it was a simple letter. It just said, Dr. Goslin, that was his name, is an OBGYN. I said, I want to be a doctor. You can make it happen. And so I, 3 days before class began, I got a phone call. And they did have phones in those days. It was a little bit of a rotary kind. You had to crank them a few times. And no email. And then it said, hey, Dr. McConnell. McConnell was a very famous psychologist, physiologist, psychologist. He was the guy that trained planaria. These little two-cell creatures. He trained planaria, then he chopped them up and he fed them to other planaria, and the other planaria would learn what the trained planaria knew. Don't ask me, man. All I know is he got a chance to get some big grant and said, I'm not going to medical school too. I'll just keep my PhD, and I got a spot. So 3 days before class began, I got into medical school. So I never finished my undergraduate degree. And, no one's ever asked me. You know. So I'm a dropout, guys. I'm a dropout.
I'm shocked at some point that hasn't become an issue with everything that we have to get. So I was looking at a military application. We can talk about Vietnam here in a minute, but we're the military application, and it's like, we need your high school transcript. Like, I wouldn't know where to find that now. I'm 48 years old, board certified in emergency medicine and EMS. I don't know where my high school transcript is. All I know is that my 30th reunion's coming up, but I don't know where. I wouldn't know where to find the grades if I had to, and there definitely wasn't computers back then that had them stored up. I mean, it was some file cabinet somewhere that's collecting dust, and if I called right now and said, I need a 1995 Science Hill High School graduating transcript, there's no way they'd find it right now.
Well, even more interesting, the high school I went to, and I'll tell you about it in 1 second, Mumford High School in Detroit, was torn down. So I'm sure those files, knowing the systems of Detroit, you know. But I have to go back to high school for 1 sec.
Right.
So I went to Mumford High School. Does that name have any thought process for you? Have you ever heard the name in any movie? Not Mumford and Son, not the band.
Not the music.
Yeah.
They are a great band, though.
Yeah, they are a great band.
Yeah, no.
So it was the Samuel C. Mumford High School. Mm-hmm. So who was in my class? Have you seen this little movie called Top Gun?
Yeah.
Mission Impossible, Days of Thunder. Who produced those movies? Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yes.
Jerry Bruckheimer was my high school classmate.
Oh, wow.
He wasn't exactly Mr. Personality then, and from what I understand, you know, he's a spry 82-ish-year-old like I am. But the one thing he did that I'm very proud of, he helped bring the Seattle Kraken hockey team. So Jerry was there. Have you ever heard of the band called The Temptations?
Yes. Yep.
Well, one of my classmates, Cornelius Grant, was the arranger and one of the participants in The Temptations. And for me, the pièce de résistance was, did you ever see the movie There's Something About Mary?
Yes.
Of course, classic, man. I mean, that was like... So do you remember Magda, the roommate? She had that leather skin, and she was always... And her dog had a cardiac arrest.
Yes.
And he's shocked with the lamp cords. That's Linda Shea. Linda was my high school crush. She wouldn't give me the time of day. Now we're pretty good friends on Facebook and otherwise. But she still plays in all the Insidious, all these terror, movies. So Mumford High School had fame and infamy in those respects.
We got that. Yeah. So Mumford High School it's a regular old incubator of people going above and beyond. I mean, Bruckheimer's put together some pretty.
He has done some amazing
stuff.
things. He supposedly used to play hockey.
Uh-huh.
All right, he's a big fan. He comes out, apparently skates with the Kraken. I played hockey till I was 68. That's why I'm so short. Everybody kept pounding on me and kept driving me a little bit shorter. And I kept trying to get him to allow us. We'd come down, our expense, to play his team. Tom Cruise was on his team apparently, and I could just see him getting checked. And never got compartmentalized. Never heard back. So moments of interest. But anyway, from there I said I went to Michigan, went to medical school, did my residency in Colorado. Then I went to Vietnam. I was in what was called the Barry Plan. Mm-hmm. I have no idea who Barry was, but it was somebody who formulated a plan that said, hey, you want to finish your residency? Great. But you're in agreement that when it's over, you're going to go in the military. Now, it was only 2 years. A lot of the other plans where they paid for you to go to medical school or would do a residency, those plans required more years. So I did the Barry Plan, and when I finished my residency, I was, all right, here's a uniform that doesn't fit you. So
the Barry Plan, spelled like a berry, Berry.
Oh, good.
Vietnam War Era Program allowed U.S. doctors to defer their military service until after completing med school and residency. Named after Dr. Frank B. Barry, the plan offered 3 deferment options and was implemented to ensure a pool of doctors for the military while still allowing for medical training to continue. It didn't directly concern residency in Vietnam, but rather enabled physicians to complete their residency training before serving. The 3 options. You entered the armed forces after completing an internship. The second was complete 1 year of residency, then serve, return to finish the residency. And then third plan was complete a full residency program before entering the armed forces.
Amen, bro. Chat GPT. That really is scary.
AI is pretty amazing.
AI is pretty,
It is pretty amazing.
AI does, I'm going to take my wife on a trip in October to Portugal. And I just put in the cities and I said, plan my trip. And do you want us to put the routes in and Google map it? And holy crap, man. I mean, it's a little bit challenging in a lot of ways.
All right, so tell us about, I agree. I mean, actually, the amount of information it found. The challenge with it is the hallucinations when it throws in a curveball in there that's not right. So asking that a little bit ahead of time and then finding it, just see if it happens to throw something in there.
No, I never dated Marilyn Monroe, and no,
we can put that in there.
Yeah,
we just got to slide it somewhere so I can find it forever.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the experience with Mary Plane going over and serving, because you ended up with the Bronze Star in Vietnam. So tell us about that experience.
Well, okay. So I'm trying to phrase this in a way that I'm anti-war. Always have been. The military is a dysfunctional organization in those days. I can't directly comment on today because I'm not in it. But so after my residency, I went to San Antonio, down in San Antonio, Texas. Went for basic training, and I learned how to march and salute, and none of which had any practical use in Vietnam. And Fort Sam down there. And so when I finished that, what was foreign there is that they didn't have quarters on the base. So we stayed at the Sheraton San Antonio, and they bussed us to the base every day. If we could get us out of the bar or out of the pool or whatever. No, went over. We landed, and they come on board, and it's a civilian plane. It was an American Airlines. We had the famous flight attendant. It was known as Grandma, because she was in her 60s, and was well known to have flown so many soldiers to the war. And we got there. What was interesting, we land, and the first thing, two great big MPs come on board. Of course, everybody's great big to me, but they looked a little bit bigger than usual. And said, Dr. Yellen, Frank doesn't care, I use his name, come with us. Frank was one of our neurosurgeons. In fact, he trained in Ann Arbor. And literally, they took him off the plane, put him in a Jeep, and drove him to the operating room because they had allowed the only two neurosurgeons in the area to leave the country before the replacement arrived. So he went from plane to operating room. We all went to something called the 90th Replacement Company. After you were at the 90th Replacement, you figured even if they put me in a ditch in the field, it would be an upgrade. It was a interesting wooden barracks, and actually the sappers, the Vietnamese that were, Viet Cong, etc., came in that night and blew up the latrine, and nobody noticed. It was so bad. It was a pretty crappy place. Anyway, from there I went to the 24th Evacuation Hospital and worked in the surgery department, and we were an irreverent group of doctors who had really a common mind. Don't screw up, save lives, care for people, and don't get put in jail. And 4 o'clock was always time to have a cocktail. I wasn't that much of a drinker, but just in case. And then we had something called the Purple Alert Party. There was a helmet painted purple, and when we had a downtime in the war, we put the helmet on the sign that said, "This is a professional organization. You should dress professionally," whatever that means. And then we'd have a party in somebody's hooch room, bigger one, and we'd have a party, and people would come. And sometimes it was costume and otherwise. And then sometimes in the middle of it, we'd get an alert, "Hey, guys, take your silly costumes off and put your scrubs on, because you're actually going to go to work." And it, there's a book called The Women. Have you read it? I'm blanking the author's name. She's very famous, and she does her research. It's about a nurse, and it may be the most accurate, impactful expression of a nurse, could have been a doctor, effect in the war. And
How about Kristen Hanna?
yes,
All right.
she's a well-known writer. It's early in the morning for me. I'm on West Coast time.
I mean, it's great reviews. It's a 4.6 out of 5.
Oh my God, it's and it's a book that it's too accurate. I mean, it was very uncomfortable to read. So, yeah, and it made a lot. The other problem, I don't always follow the rules. I guess that's a nice way to put it. So I used to go over a lot to Benoit, which was the city nearby. So Long Bin, biggest base ever built. Benoit, about 10 miles away. And I would go help work in the provincial hospital with an Australian civilian surgical team. And I'm going to get to an uncomfortable point here in a sec. So we took care of a whole bunch of the people from the siege at Onalok. You can look that up. Onalok was a village. It was under siege for I don't know how many weeks. And there was malnutrition, there were burns, there was infection, you name it. Finally, when Onalok was freed, so our group, the Australian group and myself, and another one of my colleagues who intermittently came, we had the colonel's permission to take our free time. I lost 19 of 21 kids. They died. How many could I have really saved in your hospital, my hospital, in 1971? I could have probably saved 17 of the 19. Mm-hmm. Okay? They died. And at that time, the concept of PTSD, the old shell shock of World War I, trench shock of World War II, and you don't have shock. Surgeons, first of all, never have emotions. Mm-hmm. Not allowed to have emotions, especially in the Army. And I was devastated. I thought I was a hardened inner city kid from Detroit. I was devastated. The last two that literally died in my arms, I was just weeping. And I don't know what to do. What do you do? You're not allowed to grieve, or you're not allowed to show emotion, because that's just not what a tough Army surgeon officer does. And that, I went back and I tried to find somebody to talk to, and other docs and everybody all said, yeah, we just have to bury it somewhere. And that's not an easy, I can bury, bad enough to bury an 18 or a 22-year-old or a 26-year-old, but burying a 3-year-old, 6-year-old, 8-year-old, 12-year-old was an absolute emotional devastation. So I tried to talk to, we had a psychiatrist, believe it or not, but I tried to talk to him. And I mean this with great respect for psychiatry. He was as screwed up or more than I was, because he really wasn't prepared for dealing with people with the kind of emotional distraught that war brings. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that was the, forget the heroics. Remember, which I to this day remember, every single one of those children. And not being able to, ironically, in end of September, 25th this month, we're doing a program on PTSD in Bellingham for all first response people, dispatch, law enforcement, EMS, fire, even hospital ED. A Conrad Weaver is a gentleman's name, created a movie. He's done several movies on various topics, one of which he won an Emmy for. And this is called PTSD 911. And we're going to bring in our healthcare providers for emotional support. We're going to have I'm going to do a brief talk and exposing this story I just told you, which I have not told hardly ever. And then the movie, and then we're going to have a panel of local people who've had their share, how they've tried to handle it, and then we're going to have resources available. Because it's all real. I mean, think of your worst day in the ER. What did you do afterwards? Think of. I'm sure children are the emotional trigger.
Oh yeah. And I tell that to people all the time, that as an emergency physician, you get so kind of walled and protected that nothing really hits you except a kid. And,
Yep.
and that's what I say.
Yep.
If you ever want an emergency department to be completely silent for hours, have a kid be really sick or die. And I mean, I don't see a ton of children anymore at where I am. We have the typical 10% volume, but the last really sick one was a 2-month-old that basically went into cardiac arrest on the triage desk. And I come out and the nurse is doing the hand, doing a little CPR and literally mouth to mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then got the child resuscitated, and the child did fine, but or did well after the transfer and everything. But but it's still the one that like sticks to me was as a resident. We had a house fire that happened. An entire family was in there. Of course, no smoke detectors or anything. The entire family died except for this, I believe, 13-year-old. And she came in with third-degree burns over about 90% of her body, and in traumatic arrest and resuscitation, and surgeries coming down, about to do the fasciotomies and all these things. And it's one of those moments that you're in your heart and mind, you think we were attempting to save somebody, in which we gave all the effort we could, but we're going to save somebody who, if they come back, is going to come back to excruciating recovery, grafts,
Yep.
time in the hospital, to find out her entire family's gone and everything is gone.
Yeah.
And, it's like the child who drowned in a mop bucket while the mother was asleep on the couch. All of those are the things, though, that anchor into you, those moments. I mean, if you told me adults, other than the goofy stuff, like putting things where they shouldn't be, for adults, you don't remember near as much as those moments with those children.
Yeah. I remember as a third-year medical student in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan Hospital, a 5-year-old with hemorrhagic leukemia response, essentially bleed out in my arms. I remember that, and I'm almost 82 years old, but I'm still a functional girl, so hang around, got hope. Yeah, and we do make a difference, but we make a difference sometimes at a cost to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bank that we have. Let's monetize it. We have a bank, and we can withdraw unlimited amount of the money from the bank until it runs out, and that's emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, that emotional withdrawal hits empty. The slot machine, empty. And now what? Think about it. Think about what we see in emergency medicine, EMS. I'm an EMS person.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 51 years now of doing that. It's the public perceives the Grey's Anatomy, and finally the pit has allowed the public to perceive what maybe a real ED is like.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they've been there sitting for 8 hours. Our system is broken. Our healthcare system is in shambles. I've been very involved in developing some medical products through the years. I'm working with some PhDs and others on a new airway system, which unfortunately till Wednesday I can't talk much in detail because we're embargoed. We're coming out with a paper in Science.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't, the NIH funding that we were promised is disappeared. It's gone into the ethers because I'll stop. Otherwise, I'll say something that one of your listeners will be pissed. But no, I mean, the people, the touch, the tenderness, it's become more and more difficult. And it's not just because people are on drugs. It's not just because people are expecting what you can't give them. It's not just because people don't care. We do. It's because we collectively we no longer have a system of what I always say, it's care close that door. But more important is the second room, caring.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't provide both care and caring, we're in trouble. And unfortunately, that's becoming more and more common.
So we've got, if you want to research the referenced time, the siege of Onlok or the Battle of Onlok, Vietnam 1972, part of the Eastern Offensive. It's began, looking based on the historical side of it, siege began in April of 1972 and continued through June of 1972. Though what there's mentioned here on some of the references was until July 20th, so even further.
Yeah,
than that.
I was gone at the end there.
And then talking about, you mentioned the PTSD 911. There's more information on that because you mentioned the event September 25th at 6 p.m. in Bellingham, Washington, at Bellingham High School. Several others around the country
This is
afterwards.
really scary.
Well,
This
I'm actually on the PTSD 911.
Oh, good.
website.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this is the website.
Yeah, right.
So PTSD911movie.com. Information there. You can order the book, the upcoming events. You mentioned the Bellingham. There's Beverly, Massachusetts, Buchanan, West Virginia. I know that place. That's close to me. Charlotte, North Carolina, King and Queen County, Virginia. So some on the East Coast as well. And you can also bring the film to your city by putting in a submission to order the film. So that is there.
It's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
He does it all for about $2,500, and in perpetuity that you have access to the movie, and that's basically cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wrap today, you mentioned Unlock, you mentioned EMS, you mentioned this movie. These things that you talk about there with these children, and that, mentioned that you never were and have not been a supporter of war, but we're there as part of that generation. But how has that been able to now translate into supporting first responders, healthcare, and others to not only recognize the strain of these jobs we do, but actually address it? As you mentioned, we continually take out of the account. At some point, we need to be able to at least put something back in or understand the drain on the account.
That's a very difficult question. I think the only way I can answer it is, one, our perception of reality isn't real in today's world. And I don't mean us, the medical people. Societal perception. Societal perception is, I don't wait for anything. I want perfection. If you don't do it perfect, I'll litigate you, although I have less fear of litigation than I do fear of just not doing my best. I think we have to realign a purpose in our country for healthcare. I'm really going to try to walk a fine line here, but maybe I won't walk it. We have no senior leadership in our country now who puts the patient first. Just as simple as that. We have senior leadership that I'm not sure what their purpose is of making the decisions they are. I lived before the polio vaccine. Mm-hmm. I saw people in iron lungs. I had a friend, a neighbor, in an iron lung. Okay? I know what vaccination does and doesn't do. And I know that vaccination makes a difference. Is there perfection? There's no perfection in the world. My dad used to say to put erasers on pencils because we are imperfect. Mm-hmm. Okay? But we need to address the reality of doing the right thing in the right way at the right time. And we are not doing that. We have people fleeing being medical care providers. Okay? And is that what we want? What do you want for your children and your children's children? I just became a great-grandfather. What do you want for society at large? And what are you personally? You're going to be our next president. President. That's a strange word. But what do you want for, not you, but for us? ASAP, emergency medicine, EMS. What do you want? And I'm not asking you to answer the question now, But that's the question you need to ask yourself. And all the people listening to this need to ask themselves, what am I willing to do to see that it's done right?
And we used to frame, when I would go into meetings when I was the medical director, right out of residency, and we'd get these weird discussions with administration, and I would say, all right, let's start with this. We have a physician and we have a patient. That physician-patient relationship is our mission. That interaction between a professional and someone in need. Every decision we make should focus on strengthening and enabling that relationship. If it's not, then it's distracting from that relationship, and it's pulling from that relationship.
Yeah.
So as soon as we come in here, it has to be about that. For us as the American College of Emergency Physicians, being about the physicians and that interaction and access of the population to our skills and our specialty, that is everything. It's that core mission. And I think the problem with a lot of things that we've done in the country is we have lost the understanding of that core mission, and we're walking off into corners and fighting about stuff. As I heard last week at my church service, we spend too much time looking through microscopes, making small things into big things. We need to be looking through telescopes and understanding the big things. And
that's actually quite profound.
It is very profound. And I loved it. I wrote it down. I was going to think about putting it in my speech, and I just didn't have time for it. But, it's that idea that we have to reset, no matter our differences in beliefs around our core mission. And then we build everything else and have discussions. But we have that anchor point that is where we start.
Well, good luck in finding that.
Well, we'll talk about it.
At my age, I worry about not my future, but our country's future. I have family, not going on really off the country. My older daughter and my 6 grandchildren, my grandson-in-law, and my great-grandson live in Israel. Am I happy with a lot of things that are happening there? No. But everybody there and everybody here and everybody everywhere need to understand the whole situation and not so much protest against any one party, but kind of lobby for success in life relationships. It's been a long, hard time. And again, we have the option, we in potentially the richest country in the world, maybe not the most richest in emotional integrity, to make differences in the world. And I just feel that's why I still work. So I still do what I do. Certainly it's not for money anymore, but it's because I feel that there's a personal relationship with people that I need to maintain. And I do all kinds of other stupid sports. At 82, I'm out wing foiling and quit playing hockey when I was 68. And it should be good, but it also should be caring. Caring.
Talking to Dr. Marvin Wayne, Marv, and I appreciate it. Thanks for coming up and giving us some time again here at Scientific Assembly. As for me, you can contact me, rstant@acep.org, rstant@acep.org, or at EverydayMed on X. Make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast, and if you want to check it out, once again, reminder, PTSD911movie.com. And until next time, I'm Dr. Ryan Stanton, and this has been some ACEP Frontline.
If you're not on the front lines, you're on the sidelines.